Hi, and welcome to High Growth with HTDC on ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm your host, Cindy Matsuki. For those of you who don't know, HTDC stands for the High Tech Development Corporation, and we're a state agency that supports tech, entrepreneurship, innovation, and manufacturing. So those are all the topics that we want to cover on this program. First off, I'd like to make some announcements before we meet our guests. Hawaii Tech Works in Hilo, who brings together the community of tech and design, are hosting their monthly Tech Tuesday featuring Blue Startups, and this is in Hilo tonight. Wet-ware Wednesday, which is an event that we host, which is a networking event for software developers and network engineers. And tomorrow's event, Wet-ware Wednesday, is tomorrow, and it's sponsored by Startup Weekend Honolulu. So learn more about what Startup Weekend is and see how this past Startup Weekend went, and you get to meet the winners. The first place winner was Green Apple. They made an app to crowdfund teachers' wish list items, which is great because teachers need a lot of supplies and sometimes they end up buying them with their own money, just so that they can have a good classroom experience for their kids. So that's a great app. Second place went to NameHub, which is a community to share domain names and ideas. And I'm not so sure how that works, but I'm looking forward to learning about it tomorrow. Third place went to Carrot, which is an app that simply tells you the value of a Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoins are coming, so that's one to watch. And honorable mention went to an app called Tiny Panda, which is a cute name. And that is an app to help you with roommate issues. I think like chores and cleaning and stuff. So that sounds like a good one too. So come join us tomorrow at Wet-ware Wednesday. It's going to be at the Box Jelly and featuring Startup Weekend Honolulu. I wanted to make a call out to all SBIR Phase 1 winners again. HTDC offers a state matching fund for up to 50% of your Phase 1 award amount. So if that's you, please contact us at sbir@htdc.org. And our last announcement is March 5th is Entrepreneurs Day at the State Capitol, which we'll be discussing shortly with our first guest. And our first guest is Lauren Primiano. Lauren is an associate at HSDC. Lauren joined HSDC in May 2013, which is the same time I joined HTDC. Born and raised in Hawaii, her career has focused on startups, having studied regional startup activity as well as holding management roles in startup companies. She holds a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering and management sciences from Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois. Okay, thank you for being on the show, Lauren.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, what is HSDC?
HSDC is the Hawaii Strategic Development Corporation. We're an agency of the state of Hawaii, so we're a part of the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism. So
Can you pull your mic up? Sorry, a little bit higher. Thanks.
We are actually HTDC's sister agency, and our focus is on creating investment infrastructure to support high growth startup businesses and help them to grow, scale, succeed, and raise capital from here in Hawaii.
That is great. And how did you get to HSDC?
Oh, it's long story short. You read in my bio, I guess, that I spent some time in the startup world, and I do a lot of regular self-reflection and felt like I needed to do something a little bit different. And so I made the transition over to the public sector, spent some time at the legislature, and after session was done last May, met Carl, who is the president of HSDC, and we had a lot of mutual interests and things in common, so I was able to join Carl last May.
Oh, great. And then when you were in startups, was that in Illinois?
No, so I actually worked in San Diego for a couple of years after I graduated, medical device mainly oriented startup companies. And then I moved back home a couple of years ago and was focused on software, pharma, and a few other things in between startups.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Oh, great. That's great. I'm sure Carl is grateful to have you on board.
So
what is High Growth Entrepreneurs Day?
So High Growth Entrepreneurs Day is really an opportunity for the community to come out and showcase their innovations, you know, their entrepreneurial businesses. So it's open really to any innovative entrepreneur. And actually we're going to have people from a ton of different industries. We have fashion, design, and manufacturing. We have high-tech, IT software. We have food and gift products, and basically everything in between. Aerospace, you know, with the UAVs being such a hot topic right now. So a lot of different entrepreneurs are coming from different sectors within our economy. And we also have the support system. So, you know, if you think of it like an entire ecosystem where you have startup companies, well, startup companies also need, you know, a certain level of support, organizations to help, you know, with them develop their business. So we have some law firms that will be there that are very supportive of the startup community. We also have other types of service providers, so like HR providers and that sort of thing. So those guys will all be in attendance at Entrepreneurs Day.
Holy cow. And this is at the Capitol.
This is at the Capitol on March 5th, so next week, Wednesday.
And is it open to the public?
It is open to the public. Unfortunately, the applications for the tables have already closed. So the companies that signed up, as I said, any innovative entrepreneur from across the state, we had such a high demand. So we're actually expecting over 120 companies this year, and will be on the second, third, and fourth floors of the Capitol. So, like I said, although unfortunately we're not taking any more companies right now, the public is more than welcome to come and stop by. I will mention though that it's not meant to be like a market, or, you know, people aren't selling anything. It's really just an opportunity for them to showcase their business and what it's like to be an entrepreneur in Hawaii.
And is it specifically for the ledge that are at the Capitol?
Well, you know, of course, we would encourage the legislators to come out and meet the companies, you know, whether it's companies in their district or, you know, in a subject matter that they have an interest in, whether, you know, it's because it's in a subject matter of a committee that they serve on, or just a personal interest of theirs. You know, we absolutely encourage them to come by and, you know, hope that they will.
That's great, because I know we're in the midst of ledge session and things are moving. So it's a good time to show them what's happening and what's needed.
Right. Yeah, so actually, that's where the high growth part comes in. So the high growth initiative is actually a piece of legislation that was passed last session. It was a $6 million appropriation from the legislature to basically support this entrepreneurial ecosystem focused on helping to take high growth businesses or entrepreneurs with a high growth idea, help them launch their business in Hawaii, and then help them scale up in Hawaii. So we focus on 3 key areas of the high growth initiative. It's entrepreneurial development, research commercialization to help take technology from research groups or the university out and assess their commercial potential. And then thirdly, to set up startup investment funds to help, like I said, keep those companies grounded here by investing local capital into those companies.
So when you say high growth, that means as an entrepreneurial business, it needs to be something that's scalable, or?
Well, you know, the high growth initiative is focused on those businesses that have the potential to sell beyond Hawaii's borders. So, you know, it could be maybe you're not necessarily manufacturing a product here locally in Hawaii, or maybe you are, but you know, you don't have to. But you can. The idea is that you can keep your creative corporate design team here, and then you can run, you know, whatever manufacturing operation overseas, or, you know, on the mainland, wherever it makes sense for your business. So, you know, for high growth, it just means that you have products or services that are exportable outside of Hawaii.
Okay, and then HSDC builds programs to support these companies or these businesses.
Right. So, you know, some of the things that we've focused on so far have been supporting events. So if you know, if we those 3 boxes, if you think of them as, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3 in the entrepreneurial process. So step 1 is entrepreneurs. So we are focused on events such as Wet-ware Wednesday or pitch competitions like Startup Weekend that just happened a couple weeks ago. We're focused on bringing entrepreneurs out of their garages or wherever they may be, getting them out in the community and getting them to start networking with one another and you know, to start sharing their business idea. Not in the sense that, you know, it's something that, you know, it's IP or, you know, it's just more a matter of them getting comfortable and starting to take that first step. Exactly. So we, you know, so we support events in that category.
And you have a sponsorship.
We
program,
do,
right?
we do actually. It's called the High Growth Can program, administered by you folks. But yeah, so that is a sponsorship program to support exactly those types of events that focus on taking entrepreneurs, bringing them out, like I said, of their garages and allowing them to network and communicate with investors. So that's what that's really meant to support. So anybody who has events that they think meet that criteria are welcome to take a look at the application and submit an application for that.
That's great. And then the next step is?
The next step is
research
commercialization. So, you know, we are working with different people in the private and public sector to basically try to find ways to take a technology or a research idea and to assess the commercial viability of it.
So this is for companies that are further along, like they're an existing company,
Not necessarily. I mean, it doesn't necessarily even need to be a business. It could just be like a technology, for instance. So if it's starting at the university, you know, a lot of those technologies are still in very, very early stage, but they have potential. And, you know, we are trying to enable those technologies to be assessed for their commercial viability. So does it make sense, you know, are there customers out there? Does it make sense to spin out a business? And, you know, is there potential for them to generate a high growth business out of this idea? So that's, you know, that's kind of where our focus is in that box.
And do you build programs that support that, or does HSDC actually facilitate that happening?
Well, so we don't, you know, HSDC is just a 2-person
operation.
So you know, we don't ourselves, number one, have the expertise to do that, and number two, we just, you know.
So you build the programs around that.
We work with private sector partners who do have that experience, and then, you know, also private sector partners that can provide matching capital to our investment in these efforts. We work with those people to help get these kinds of programs up and running. And so similarly, you know, in the third box is the investment capital. So, you know, we have set up so far a couple of investment funds. So the most recent fund that we just closed was the Emblem Fund. That fund is a seed stage software fund based on Maui, and it's a $10 million fund. So, you know, it's basically meant to support companies that are still at sort of an early stage and need, you know, a little bit more capital to validate their idea. And then we also set up a fund with the university called the Upside Fund, and that fund is meant to support kind of, like I mentioned, the research commercialization technology kind of efforts. So providing the investment capital for businesses that are based on university technology.
And so the funds, are they just funds, or do they come with mentoring and they come with a program?
Right. So that's actually one thing that I did forget to mention was the Accelerator programs that we're supporting. So Blue Startups, who, you know, is Hawaii's first accelerator, is supported by both High Growth Initiative as well as our private sector partners, who are the Hawaii Angels, and led by Hank Rogers, who is
Tetris,
Hawaii Angels. So yeah, I mean, he's all over the place. But so we work with Hank on putting Blue Startups together. And that, I would say, you know, out of the 3 different steps, maybe operates a little bit on the earlier stage. So, you know, they focus on taking very, very early stage businesses and entrepreneurs, putting them through a 3-month program, providing them with access to mentors, $20,000 in investment capital, and then also they provide basically a co-working space, a temporary home for these companies to live, because again, these companies are very, very early stage. They don't necessarily have the capital, the cash flow that they would need to have their own office space. So it's basically a 3-month program that provides all of those resources under one roof. And at the end of the program, the idea is to package and polish the business so that it is attractive and investable, investment ready for the next stage. So at the end of the program, they have demo days, which are opportunities for the businesses to pitch their business to a crowd of investors.
So that's where Emblem would potentially
That's
come
where
in.
Emblem could come in. So they could come in, as a company graduates out of Blue Startups, for instance, Emblem could decide, okay, I think this company is ready to take in more money. So, to help them scale their operation or to help them, like I said, validate their commercial opportunity, so that they can then choose to step in at that point after the company goes through an accelerator. Right. But that's not to say Emblem couldn't invest in another company that doesn't necessarily go through the program, right? It's just we're creating the stepping stones so that a company can get from A to B, but also come in at any point that makes sense for them.
That is excellent. So for more information on HSDC and their programs, please visit hsdc.hawaii.gov. And we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. This is High Growth with HTDC. I'm your host, Cindy Matsuki, and my guest today is Lauren Primiano, and we'll be right back.
Castle & Cook Hawaii, investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state. Collateral Analytics, empowering the real estate industry to make better informed property investment decisions. The Foreign Trade Zone, bringing the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone programs to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. Galen Ho, a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company. Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island. The Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, incorporating diverse perspectives to design a flexible and forward-looking energy strategy. Hawaii Energy, the state's energy and efficiency program created to help Hawaii's residents and businesses adopt a clean energy lifestyle. Hawaii Gas, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future. Hawaii Pacific Health, bringing technology and teamwork together to transform healthcare in Hawaii. The High Tech Development Corporation, attached to DBED, is the state's leading technology agency. The Scheidler Family Foundation, supporting educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including ThinkTech.
Aloha, I'm Maria Kashem of ThinkTech Hawaii, and I want to tell you about our ThinkTech talk shows. If you didn't know it, ThinkTech streams video and audio for all of its shows live on the internet from 2 to 5 p.m. every weekday afternoon, and we replay them all night long on ustream.tv. Visit thinktechhawaii.com for our live stream and YouTube links. Raise your awareness on ThinkTech. I'm Maria Kashem, and I'll see you there.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel of ThinkTech. We have some news for you. In addition to our ThinkTech TV show and our Asia in Review show on Olelo 54, as of January 1st, we're adding Community Matters to play also 2 hours a week. Check out thinktechhawaii.com for the specific times of each of these shows. We hope you enjoy all three. Mahalo, I'm Jay Fidel.
Aloha, my name is Dan Bauer and I'm the General Manager of the Plaza Club. The Plaza Club is Honolulu's premier business club. We're located in the heart of the financial district on historic Fort Street Mall. On the 20th and 21st floors atop the Pioneer Plaza, our commanding skyline views, along with our award-winning cuisine and service, are known as the place to do business downtown. We offer professional as well as social events and programs to our members and their guests, all tailored to enrich their professional and personal lives and to give them the cutting edge that they deserve in business. Why don't you consider becoming a member of the club? Call me at 531-7788 or come see me and let's talk business and how the Plaza Club can work for you. Again, my name is Dan Bauer. I'm the General Manager of the club, and I'm here for...
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel. This is ThinkTech Hawaii, broadcasting live from the Pioneer Plaza in downtown Honolulu. We raise public awareness about tech, energy, and globalism in Hawaii. Technology is critical to our state. A vibrant tech sector will give us new prospects in the global marketplace and will offer great careers and make our economy more resilient. Streaming live on Ustream and Spreaker, ThinkTech allows its hosts and guests invaluable opportunities to report important events and discuss important questions, and to be heard here in Hawaii and around the world. You can find links to our live streams on thinktechhawaii.com or on our mobile website, m.thinktechhawaii.com. And you can see our archive on YouTube. It's all just a click away. We want to do whatever we can to keep Hawaii relevant, connected, and thriving in the complexity of the 21st century. We hope you will help us in those efforts. Tune in today. This is ThinkTech. I'm Jay Fidel.
Hi, welcome back to High Growth with HTDC. I'm your host, Cindy Matsuki, and my guests today are Lauren Primiano, which we just spoke with, and I'm also bringing on Kevin Miyashiro of Terasys, who will also be at the High Growth Entrepreneurs Day at the Capitol coming up, which we just talked about. Kevin Miyashiro is the president and founder of Terraces. Kevin was born and raised in Hawaii and previously worked at Trex and Boeing as a manager and engineer with a focus on RF engineering. And we also have Dave Tribble, who is also with Terraces and is their principal software engineer. Dave grew up in Frederick, Maryland, and has been in Hawaii since 1991, working as a programmer and program manager for companies such as SAIC and Referentia. As an on-site Navy systems engineer, Dave was once shot off the USS Kitty Hawk, somehow, like through a cannon or something.
In a plane. That's good news.
Great, very good. So, I brought you on to kind of hear about your entrepreneurial journey. I think everybody's is different, and yours, when you first came to me, sounds very interesting. So Terasys is a pretty well-known tech company in the defense community, but you're kind of going through this transition of sorts.
Well, so Terasys has been around for about 6 years, and I think it's fair to say we've had some pretty good successes as a research-based small company. Our customers like what we have. We have a lot of good groundbreaking technologies, all in the wireless space.
Your defense customers.
For a lot of our military customers. We've had a couple of commercial sales here and there, and so we have a lot of kudos for what we do. And our customers really like what we have, and we're very proud of what we've done. What we found, though, is that it's been very hard to get very good high growth from what we're doing. So like what you and Lauren talking about earlier, trying to get that really good scalable growth has been very hard for us, and so I've struggled with that notion, and I've tried to figure out where a lot of that's coming from. And so one of the conclusions that I have is that a lot of the work that we do focuses very heavily on technology. We are asked to solve some very, very difficult technical problems, and that's where we've made a name for ourselves.
Very specific problems.
Very specific military-type wireless problems. What happens, though, is that if all you do is focus on the technology side, that doesn't always translate into the product side. So we've realized that things like feature sets, user experience, and other things are necessary to get these really high growth opportunities. And so we've decided that it's time for us to grow up and move out of the sandbox and go on and do some really great things with the people that we have. And so we've begun this transformational journey to go from being this really good high-tech company to being a really good tech-based, high-growth company. And so in order to do that, what we've recognized is everything about us has to change. We have to re-engineer our DNA. Our culture has to shift. Our processes have to change. The way we manage things have to change because we're going after very different things now. So that's the start of our journey, and we're living through that in real time.
Wow. And how has it been so far? Has it been scary trying to go through that ship?
I like change.
It's been an experience, for sure.
You'll never have the chance again, and so Dave gets to live through it. So I like change, and it's very easy for me to push a lot of that stuff. Dave ultimately has to execute a lot of the stuff, and so for him, it's like 5 times a week, change, and so it's very different for the guys executing. So for me, it's a sandbox fun project. Dave might feel very differently. What he says on camera and what he says off the scene might be different.
Okay,
But
let's hear it.
We're so used to getting the government saying, thou shalt do this, you build it this way, because they take a lot of time to figure it out, because that's the way they have to work. And we find ourselves suddenly in an environment where we don't have the person saying that. You know, we have to guess, we have to look at who we're trying to get to, figure out what they want, without necessarily always being able to talk to them. So we'll put together what we think is a good idea, we'll start executing on it, and as we dig a little deeper, as we scratch a little below the surface, we start thinking, oh, well, maybe we need to tweak this, move that, go a slightly different way. And so I'll go into Kevin's office, he'll say, come, I want to talk to you about something. And we'll go in and we'll come out and it'll look a little different. And it's interesting, we can get the snapshots week to week, how it's evolving. And
hour by hour sometimes, right?
Week by week, hour by
I
hour.
would think
but
as an engineer, that's a pretty uncomfortable space, because usually you know what the end goal is, you know what it's supposed to look like.
I think it's fine.
well, you certainly have to keep moving to try and make sure you stay ahead. There are days when I'm almost a half a day ahead of the technology that I need to know. That's a good day.
That's good.
But yeah, as we try to figure out what it will look like, we need to keep thinking, well, what's the best way to do this? And that quite often leads us right into areas we haven't really touched before. And I know that's fun for me with software, and I can't imagine what it's like for this hardware engineer who sits next to me doing all this agile thinking.
Yeah, and for us, a lot of it is, so we pride ourselves, we have a lot of processes. And we've built up these processes over the years to really learn how to build good technologies. And so actually one of our biggest challenges now is you have a process for building an unknown technology. And what we're facing for these high growth opportunities is now your unknown is, will a person like it? So you're dealing with the biggest uncertainty of them all, which is human emotions, right? And so that's where life gets very interesting for us. And so Lauren and Carl, I talk story with them all the time. They hear all my stories. And one day I'm talking to them and Carl reaches into his shelf and he pulls out this book. He goes, have you read this book? It was called Lean Startup. And I go, I've never heard of it. He goes, you need to read this book. So I buy it, I'm reading on the plane. I get off the plane, I send him this text message. I'm like, you got me hooked. Thank you for sending me the book, and thank you for making me lose sleep on the plane. The reason why I like it is because the book attempts to distill down into a process. How do you deal with this massive amount of uncertainty, and how do you not waste human capital, money capital, but human capital? And I really latched onto that idea, and so we've been working on adopting the processes that we have to fit this new entrepreneurial high people uncertainty model that we're going after.
How do you build something people are going to want?
Correct. And not wait 2 years to find out. Right, so that's been the latest part of our journey. That's what we're having a lot of fun with.
Excellent. So do you go out and you talk to people?
Absolutely, and that has been one of the scariest things, is to put yourself out there and to ask a potential customer, user, or somebody like that, does my baby look pretty to you? Because you run the risk of somebody saying, no, your baby's kind of ugly, But you have to ask that, and that is actually one of the biggest emotional challenges for us, is well before the product is done, asking people what they think about it, and exposing ourselves to that risk of them saying, no, I don't like this, because it doesn't matter what we think. It matters what we need to do for them to make it this good, compelling, engaging experience.
And it's a total change for us, because we're used to having a program manager say, it will look like this. And so we go,
And
we
you
finish
just
it the way they want it, and we say to them, is this what you wanted? This is what you said. Let's see how close it meets expectations. And now we're starting with it, and we're going out and saying, how ugly is the baby? And that's when we get the feedback, and we need to turn around and do
It's
something
actually not
with it
even
right
a
there.
baby yet, though, right? It's kind of like
It's
idea of a
it's our
baby.
idea of what we think the baby's going to look like. And what makes it hard, you can't even just ask one person, because you're going to get one opinion. And so the art that we're finding is how do you aggregate a lot of people's opinions, and it is our responsibility to figure out what is that magic engagement model that is just going to make people love this thing to death. But that's the journey that makes it fun too. So it's much less, we are a technology company, and so we can do things that a lot of our folks can't do, but the magic is the user engagement and the user experience, and that's where the real journey and the real excitement comes in.
Yeah, we have to work on making sure we get out of our own tunnel of being tech guys in an office
Yeah.
and reach out to the types of personalities that you'll run into.
Yeah.
It's
Are
not
you
just tech
having
guys in the coffee
your
shop.
engineers get out?
Yes. Because it can't just be me. He has to live it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he
So
has
he
to
has to
hear
go
it from
talk
the
to people.
customer's
That's
mouth,
right.
So yeah, he's already told me we're going to go work in retail for a few days just to make sure we understand how well it works.
Yeah, so actually a friend of ours, a friend of the family suggested she knows a retail owner. So we're gonna go ask him, hire us for free for like a week, because we need to walk a mile in their shoes. If we're gonna build products to help retailers, we have to understand what it's like to
That's
be a
great.
retailer.
Empathy. You have
Yes,
to
design
empathize.
empathy.
Not just empathy, but it's where you can actually get into the process and discover those deeper issues you've got to deal with that just aren't obvious, and the retailers, obviously don't want to show their customers.
Right.
Definitely. And they can't always articulate it.
Right.
That's right.
If you just ask them.
That's right. You can't ask, what do you want? People don't know what they want. You have to experience it for yourself and go, oh, let me give this to you, and then they can tell you whether they like it or not, which is very different, right? So that's all of the stuff that we're going through now.
Wow, so we can walk into this store and
So let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing. So because we're a wireless company, we wanted to find a space that uses wireless technology.
so this is taking your technology from the defense side and repurposing it?
Some of it, a lot of it more is taking the skills that we have, because to the notion of, so this is one of the things this is why I meant earlier, technology is an aspect of the product, but it is not the entirety of the product. And so what we're looking at is what is the fastest way to grow a business. And so if that means developing a technology, great, so be it. But if that means just being smart about how you use the technology, do that too. You're growing a business versus growing a technology.
And that's where a lot of our thought change has to come in, because we're used to thinking grow the technology, and now it's hit the sweet spot. Now it's make sure it meets what the person on the street wants.
Exactly.
And it's really that
It's
focus.
different.
And
Totally
so
different.
sometimes what's interesting for us is now we're going into technology areas that, compared to what we're used to, is very easy. So it almost feels like we should turn in our engineering degrees and give them back. But because we do have engineering backgrounds, we understand a lot of this stuff, so we can move through the technology development very fast. And so the area that we're playing in right now is called the social local mobile arena. And so if you pull up this thing that we have,
Can you pull up the graphic?
what it is this idea that based on existing wireless signals, Bluetooth signals, Wi-Fi signals, and other things, you can know where somebody is with a very, very high level of accuracy, maybe 1 or 2 feet of accuracy. And so there's this massive area in the marketplace of trying to figure out what are these new magical user experiences you can offer people that you can offer them based on a very high accuracy of knowing where they are in real time and maybe where they are relative to each other. So where we're starting with this is we're building a tool for the small business retailer that is going to help them engage their customers better, right? One of the biggest struggles that we're finding with, oh, by the way, if that image is still up, we can pull it down. Now we're done, if that matters.
Thank you.
Every small business retailer has one common thing that they're struggling with. I don't have enough hours in the day to do what I want to do. I want to grow my business, but I need help. And one of the biggest areas of help is advertising. How do you draw these new customers in? And so we're using this wireless technology to help them create new engagement channels for their customers, for their existing customers, maybe for a customer that hasn't been back in a while, using wireless technology to bring them back into you. Using that same technology to bring a new customer that doesn't even know you exist, right? So picture all the things that are happening in mobile phones and smartphones, all the apps that are being done. There's an underlying technology, which is every smartphone is a wireless radio. We're taking advantage of that fact to use that as a channel to push information and pull information from that. And so what we're doing is we're building this technology. I have a coffee cafe across the street from our office called Beach Bum Cafe. I love this place. I spend far too much money there. Dennis is the business owner there, and so he's agreed to be our first pilot case. So we're gonna demo that product in his showroom, in his store, to help him drive more customers and help us understand how to best service him. That's
So from the retailer, does it send out and it talks to people in the area? Is that what it is? Or?
The idea is that retailers usually either they have to deal with somebody face to face, or they have to use standard advertising, media, print, things like that. What this does is it provides a way for them to get information on the customer so that they can make it easier to talk to the customer. They can also engage the customer quickly. For instance, if they have a knowledge of the customer's interests, it gives them the opportunity to say, I know what you like. I'm going to do this for you to make sure that you come shop in my store. As they see the customer, it gives them that ability to make that connection right there. And the technology really comes down to the fact that it is the retailer's radio talking to the customer's radio in their phone. It makes that connection and allows the retailer to say, that's you.
So based on
and
proximity.
I know what you want, based on proximity. Exactly.
And then it extends beyond that. Once they leave the store, they still have their radio, and their radio is talking to all the other radios because everybody has a cell phone now. So now we have an opportunity to use the same wireless radio technology. Messages can go viral all of a sudden, just based on how many people are out there. And so one of the other reasons why we picked Beach Bum is because it's in downtown. Very high density of people. Everybody gets their coffee fix 6 a.m. in the morning. How far can we spread some of this stuff based on wireless technology? But the important thing that we're learning is we have to validate some of our things very quickly. And some of our earlier attempts to make these high growth startups that we're trying to do, we spent too much time on the product. And then we realized after the fact, we were proud of it, but nobody else cared. And so it turned out when we asked the question, they said, yeah, the baby is kind of ugly. You're like, "Arr." And so what we're doing now is we're trying to save those valuable months of development time, get something evaluated early, and tweak the model after that so that we can, because really at the end of the day, our job is not to make a technology to specs. Our job is to make the right product to make people want to buy. And changing that mindset is this entrepreneurial reshaping that we're doing. And so we have wasted some of our financial resources. I still look at the expense accounts and I say, well, okay, I'm going to have to convince myself that was a good learning opportunity because that's all we got out of it. But as long as we keep going, we're getting better every time. So this is our latest thing that we're trying. And this one seems to be getting pretty good traction so far, a lot of interest from folks.
So you have had that experience where you spend the time?
Oh, yeah.
Multiple times?
The product that we're building right now is our third time at bat. So of my own money in the company, I think we're probably in over $100,000 at this point. So it's not a small check that I've written to learn these lessons. So I keep turning to Dave going, and the other guy is going, we're not going to make that mistake again, right? So these are expensive lessons to be learned. And as long as we can not make the same ones again, I'm okay with that. That is a part of the process.
And that's why every time we get a change that's suggested or we realize that we didn't quite hit the mark, there's no complaining when it's, okay, we're not going to use that section, we're going to go focus on this. And there's no worry that we didn't use that because we know, we've got to move quickly and we can't make the mistakes again and just move on quickly and get it done.
If I can just add one thing, if we take a step back and look at, listen to kind of what you guys just said, I mean, there are two things that I take away from it. The first is that you admitted that you failed, which is
yes.
I mean, good for you.
Twice, by the way.
Awesome. And the second thing is that you accepted and embraced that failure and had learned from it and are now, and you're continuing to do it, right? And so I think that is a kind of a mindset that we absolutely think is necessary for our businesses and our entrepreneurial community to succeed is, don't be afraid of failure. And even if you fail, all the power to you because you can now apply those lessons and, you have those battle scars, but, you are that much more prepared to go on and do your next venture.
I'm talking about the transition.
Well, can I take a quick break? We're going to come right back. Hold that thought. Sorry. So this is High Growth with HSDC. I'm your host, Cindy Matsuki, and my guests today from Terraces are Kevin Miyashiro and Dave Tribble. And I also have Lauren Primiano from HSDC. And we'll be right back on Think Tech Hawaii.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Hori for Think Tech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Hori. Mahalo.
Hi, welcome back to High Growth with HSDC. I'm your Lauren's with HSDC. I'm with HTDC. And my guests today are Lauren Primiano from HSDC and Kevin Miyashiro and Dave Tribble from Terraces. And I'm sorry, I just cut you off. You had a point you were going to make right before the break.
Lauren was mentioning admitting the mistakes, and that is a big mind change, and I think Kevin will agree with this, because when your customer is deciding whether to give you money, it's to admit a mistake means you have to dance very well and really show that experience. But for us, when it's just within the company, we need to really embrace them. Not only embrace them, but chew them over so we really understand where we went wrong. So it's not only embracing them; it's really getting intimately aware of what went wrong, just because it's the company money on the line.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That as opposed to us maybe doing this on the weekends on our own time, or whatever, there is real money on the line here, and so those mistakes hurt even more. But it actually makes it more meaningful. We're forced to make smarter decisions, and we're forced to reduce those cycle times and make sure that we are really moving towards hitting that goal. And so, in a way, I'm kind of viewing myself as our first investor, and I'm also helping to execute, and I'm holding us to that standard of, I don't mind us making a mistake as long as we use it, and let's not be afraid to take a chance. And that's easier said than done. A lot of engineers, we're trained to be risk averse, but to be an entrepreneur, you have to be risk embracing. You can't be foolish about it. You have to know what risks to take, but that is all part of the culture that we're reshaping too. Our attitudes are literally having to change to make sure that we can succeed. Because if we control too much and we take too few risks, we actually limit our upside. And so finding that balance point is very important to us.
So are you learning to fail faster and cheaper?
Yeah, I sure hope so.
Part of the process.
I think our program manager and our accountant, I would like to say they will say yes, because the times that we get to that identification point of this is really not going to work. Two things usually happen is it's hard to admit that. You want to try one more time. And then there's this thing of, okay, what do I do next? There's a sense of paralysis. I can say that now on our third time, luckily we haven't hit that paralysis point yet at all, but we have gone further, faster to get to that evaluation point. We're ready to put it out there into the world faster than the other two. So by most measures that way, we are doing a better job. And then it just remains to be seen whether we have, at least on this first pass, picked the right engagement model to make the users come to us.
It's great also having a bunch of really smart folks in the company that Kevin's managed to bring together, because we can talk about the ideas, and quite often somebody will just go, but what if? And it catches that before we commit anything to code or to hardware. And it's also, we've got some crazy smart people in there who just have these off-the-wall ideas, and it's funny how the rebounds actually wind up.
But they work.
In our
they help us. And actually, part of our culture that we've been re-engineering is we have a couple of rules. So one of our rules is the no yeah but rule. I know it sounds weird, but so the rule goes something like this. So say something, say an idea.
I think we should make Cindy president.
Yeah, but Cindy doesn't have the right degree. So that's the yeah but part, right? And one of the most classic things for us to do as problem solvers, because we're guys and we're engineers.
It's very Hawaii too. It's yeah but. It's not just no.
Yeah.
It's yeah but.
Right. And that feels very natural. And a lot of times you're actually trying to help. But what I've found is that our job is not to be right. Our job is not to be smart. Our job is to make progress. And so the no yeah but rule is you can't do that. You could be right. You could point something out and say, that's really not right. but the expectation is you have to have a suggestion for making it better.
And the funny part is when you start moving past the yeah but to phrase it so it's acceptable within the yeah but rules, you suddenly find yourself going interesting places, and it's no longer the yeah but, it's, well, it's a good idea. Oh, it is a good idea.
Yeah.
Or there are good aspects of it, and it really changes how you look
Or
at
I've
it.
heard you change it to yeah and.
Or yes and, right? That's what
Exactly, yes,
the improv
and.
people do and everything. And so all of that is re-engineering our engineering to make sure that we can succeed as a team. Because the problems that we're trying to solve are so hard, you can't come up with it by yourself. You need that collaborative, creative environment. And so we work very hard to make sure that the creativity is protected and supported as we throw these wild ideas out there and see what
good.
sticks on the wall. So that's all the kind of stuff we're doing.
Wow, that's great. And I was going to ask, so was this kind of a ground up or like an entire company transformation? Or did this come from you, top down?
I would say this kind of started from me. These guys have learned to just deal with my bouncing all over the walls and everything, and every once in a while I bounce off a wall and I stay there. And this was one of those times. And then over time, I think what's begun to happen is, so Dave is lucky. Dave gets to work on the fun ping-pongy stuff the most. But what started to happen is people were beginning to gravitate towards this stuff because it's just plain more fun. It's more exciting and everything else. And so now it's got a groundswell. And so now within the company. And so people have moved past, Kevin, you're just crazy. Not to say that they still don't believe that, but they're more accepting of the craziness because they see where it goes, right? That's how we're gonna make these big splashes. That's how we're gonna get these big growth opportunities, is by doing some of these really risky, crazy things, right? So that's where it appears to be going right now.
And we're going to want to carry that enthusiasm. We've got to enjoy it while it's here, because once we actually lock down to the point where we're crunching for a few weeks, for a few months to try and do something, that enthusiasm is going to hopefully carry us through. Because when you get on the long projects, that other interesting stuff is, it's distracting. And
Absolutely.
the enthusiasm makes all the difference in the world. And
That's great. That's good.
it's got to come from the top, as in any company, and it's an ever-flowing process.
So I see you brought something with.
Well, so this is just an example of these wireless radios that we're talking about. So something like this could be put into a store. There's Apple. Everybody loves the Apple company. Apple makes something called iBeacon. It's very we're building our own version of an iBeacon. One of the big differences is that a lot of folks that are building these little radios for making proximity applications work, they're actually hiding. They're making them very small, like this, and so they're trying to hide them away. We're actually going the exact opposite way. We are actually going to make them large and in charge, and not big, but fun and part of the experience. And so that has stimulated a lot of discussions as to what those, should it be a character, should it be a thing, should it move? So that's become its own beast all by itself. Because one of my overall goals, I want to make technology fun, and because I think that makes it more engaging for people. So, credit to companies like Apple for really breaking these barriers down of you can make beautiful technologies. It doesn't have to be so cold, and we're trying to build on that momentum.
We're actually trying to flip it on its head, because Apple's technology is all about giving you information about something that is somewhere, and rather than doing that, this little thing that is sitting there is what's interesting. We're trying to take that to the people. So we're making the people with their phones the ones who are the interesting part. It's interesting to the retailer. The retailer gives more attention to them. It makes them more interested in coming back. So it just tightens that. It tightens that relationship building with the retailer. And it's something. The technology's there. We want to be one of the first to flip it on its head and use it that way.
So this is not your piece.
This one is not ours, but it's a physical example.
I see.
So again, the idea is move fast. So if it's
So this
faster
is
to
just a
buy
test.
somebody else's and then we build ours after that, so be it. But the size is all what these things need to be, because you can't have it the size of this table, right? So, but again, we know exactly what it takes to build one of these. We considered it a relatively small detail, so we just went out and bought it for like $10, and then when we're ready to build our own, we're ready to build our own.
Excellent, excellent. I gotta wrap, but I wanted to ask you, what's next? What's next for Terraces?
So, you know, look out there in
Dave
Beach
doesn't
Bum.
know yet.
Yeah, Dave's like, oh, what's gonna happen tomorrow? So, you know, really the first thing is credit to Dennis at Beach Bum for giving us that opportunity to try out our technology in the store.
Everybody go visit Beach Bum.
And buy the coffee.
Buy the
great coffee. So, you know, probably in the next 2 to 3 months, we should be ready to have it in his store.
Awesome.
One of the other things we're going to be doing is to help other folks understand what it's like to live through both this transformational change and to really know that real money is on the line and to make real mistakes and to live through them. We're going to be making a blog and basically documenting our journey.
Great.
And so we're going to put that up there and to share our experiences, good and bad. And hopefully the end of it is, you know, a good, happy ending success story behind it. But either way, the journey, I think, is important and valuable to capture, to share with folks. So we're going to be putting that out probably in the next month or so as well.
Great, let us know. We'll blast it out there and we'll
Sure.
have you back
Cool.
once we get the good stories going. Or not.
Fail proudly, right?
So I heard it's called pivot and not fail.
That's right.
Pivot.
That's right.
Right?
Pivot or
Dean?
persevere. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for being on the show. That was a really
Thanks
fun
for having
show.
us.
And thank you, everybody, for supporting Hawaii's entrepreneurs. We'll see you at Entrepreneur Day at the Capitol. You've been watching High Growth with HTDC. I'm your host, Cindy Matsuki, and my guests have been Lauren Primiano from HSDC and Kevin Miyashiro and Dave Tribble from Terasys. Thank you so much.